Okay, it's 4:52 on Sunday, April 26th. It's about 60 degrees. Very sunny now after the big bit of rain. Figure we'll go over some of the basics of how to do things on the model. Great. Base things to do. A couple considerations when we're looking at all the different forecasts. We got a lot of ejections and wetness in some places and absolutely none in other. It just really focuses on primary scab, but I will use it for secondary as well. Um, with a lot of the forecast data, it's fairly conservative, 35 days out, get a little bit less than 1 to 2 days out, and it's going to predict a lot of infection periods. One of the things I've noticed this time is it predicted about an inch of rain on Saturday. You got about 3/4 of an inch of rain. Still pretty bad. Another big period's coming up, depending on where you are in the state or anywhere else. And I really look to put the big materials in at these 15 to 20% ascospore ejections. Or if you're getting 2 inches of weekly rain, and this is kind of what I did on Friday, put the stuff out knowing we're going to get a big ejection in Geneva. Let's see what it's like. You can spray between events, but try avoiding only spraying after rains. So where are we now? We're moving into bloom and could be closing in on petal fall depending on where you are. A lot of really cold spikes, caused a lot of injury and crop loss. But hopefully we'll have a really cool bloom to counteract that and make fire blight a little bit easier on us. And with are some big ejection events and you might be tempted to creep into the single sites, I'm still recommending the Dodine and the APs with the cold weather and the fact that they only work on scab. But if you're tempted to use one, let's talk a little bit about them. I'll show this chart here. Everything in gray is great. It just can't be used on Long Island. Like I said before, Sillet really good on apple scab. Vanguard, Scala good on apple scab. That's why we're positioning them there. The Group 11's fantastic on powdery mildew. I wouldn't use these yet, but if you needed to dip into your single sites this week for whatever reason, I really focus on the Group 7s. Apple scab is their #1 target. Summer disease is second. And so if you had to dip one, if you're not on Long Island, I'd go to Ceres, Miravis, or Aprovia, or Fontellus as well. Either one. Avoid these because these Group 7s also use up one of your 11s. We want to save those for a little bit later. We want to use them all. We want to save them for later. You can keep an event as well. If I mean a group, if you can kind of keep those 11s a little bit later on and use them when you really need them. But right now, if you want to put something out, put on a 7, or you could put a 7-11. It's fine. There's not a lot of powdery mildew pressure. Maybe in really warm areas there could be some mildew. In that case, do your 7-11s, your Maravon Pristine, and your options for Long Island, Miravis, and Aprovia in that particular vein. Well, what about the Axios shows up as well? I think it only has pre-petal fall uses, so if you were tempted to use one, you're like, well, I'm going to save my 7-11. I'm just going to do Axios. I did Axios this week. It's fine material. And if you're into the organic, stuck with the biopesticides. And we'll talk about it. Big ejections, 5 days of rain. Use mentioning these, but if you need to dip in, use the Group 7. Work well on apple scab. We talked about that. If there's not a lot of rain in your area, just keep maintaining coverage with Captan or Mancozeb as you move into or move through bloom, if you will, into petal fall. Once we start getting into petal fall, I'm going to talk about some other stuff. All right, organic. Still liking sulfur, particularly in all this heavy rain and ejection events. And if not, use one of those liquid biopesticides. Great materials. I'm going to exit this one out, and I'm going to go in and talk a little bit about fire blight, because we're in that phase now. We're moving into pink, into bloom as well, where I'll still give the pre-bloom prexidiol calcium recommendations. You can start putting on your systemic acquired resistance inducers at this point as well, but we're really going to be going into the bloom period, and it's all going to be about antibiotics and biologicals in an attempt to avoid these nasty blossom blight clusters and shoot blight. Even if you've lost your crop to the spring freeze, you've got to be very careful with fire blight. You don't want to lose the tree as well. If you're an organic, copper, and about this point I would be putting on my natural systemic acquired resistance inducers and our biologicals. I'll give you the ones I recommend as well. And moving on from that, we'll be sort of skipping through the early preseason, going right into the pink. We're still a little bit in there. If you have older, larger trees, I really recommend the prexidiol calcium at 6 ounces per 100 gallons at pink. Now, if you are a young tree, I really recommend the 2 ounces of peroxidine calcium plus the 1 ounce of acylbenzoyl or S-methyl, marketed as Actigard, or that's its trade name right there. So the 2 plus 1 will give you about 4. If you are really looking for more blossom blight control, put this closer to tight cluster. That window is probably gone. And what everyone's really often looking for in this case is shoot blight control. So go a little bit deeper into pink, king bloom type situation. And then what this stuff does is it really sort of thickens these cell wall in the pedestal to try to prevent the invasion. It doesn't stop the infection, but it will lock it out, and then the blossoms will dry up, and you'll do great. But regardless, do your defense inducer programs at pink. The bacterium is a little tiny straw that it pops in between cells and injects its little warfare tools, which allows it to spread and makes a cyclical feedback loop, causing the bacteria to grow even more and faster, which is something we don't want. If you're in the organic world, I would, be pushing my Regalia or Lifeguard applications to try to bolster these defenses up. And then as I move into King Bloom, I'd go Bloom, Blossom Protect. Bloom Time Live's not available yet. 2 great epiphytic natural competitors of Erwinia that can do a lot of good. And from that, we're going to just go ahead and go right into the predictions for the week. We'll start with Apple Scab first. I'll move this out of the way. And we'll check it out. Riverhead, how are they looking? Oddly enough, fairly far behind. All right, looks like we're getting a little bit of a new error. It's not the 24th. We need to get rid of some cache. We're going to see if I can pop this off. Some of the best ways to do it are to refresh the Riverhead site for here. Well, it didn't work at all, did it? Nope, we actually took it away. I'm going to go back to Apples. I'm going to go back to Fire Blight. Now we're looking at the 24th for Fire Blight. Now sometimes if I come back here and I do the refresh there, not make this thing behave. Save the day, can we? Let me see if we can type it in there. I mean, it's still showing the 26th, but I don't like the fact that it doesn't ever. That's never going to fix it, is it? Stupid, silly thing. Pick a different site. Nope. It's just I'm not going to get that. Give me that little. Sometimes if you switch back between Fire Blight and Apple Scab, you can make the newer model behave, but it is not. It's stuck permanently at 24th. Doesn't really much matter. It's giving you the right data. How can you always tell? You just simply look at last download for the 4 p.m. Can I pick it now? Now I can pick it. All right, fine. As you can see, there is something going on with the calendar in that. The fortunate thing is you're coming off about 43% masks for maturity. It must be very cold there. Or you're getting a lot of rain. You guys got about an inch of rain. And now you're coming into a small period as well. Not a lot of ejection. 9% means light period. And you just came off of a fairly light ejection period. 30%, 40, 57%. And for the entire week, you're looking at about 10. So I think what I would do in this situation is if my coverage washed off, I would put it on the 27th and 28th tomorrow or Tuesday for the most part. And we'll cut right in. Boom. You're doing great in that area. Let's go into the Hudson Valley. Oh, and let's look at Fire Blight for Riverhead. Easy streets. You're looking great. Nothing to worry about. Even if there are flowers on the tree, don't panic. Things are looking good in Riverhead. No need to worry about Fire Blight at all. I'm going to go into, always take this caps lock off. Still doing that weird thing where it's showing both things. We're going to leave that alone. Hudson Valley is very similar to Geneva. You're moving in. You're past about 55%. You're about halfway done, but you're just coming off of a big ejection. You got the big Saturday Scapocalypse event that I talked about on Friday, and then you're coming into another 10% later in the week. I wouldn't say panic. You got about, gosh, you got a lot more rain than we did. We only got about 3/4 of an inch of rain. You could probably weather this if you use something thick like Captain Mancozeb, but if you really put it on a couple days earlier and you think it might have been washed off, you could just recover with something easy. It's not a big one. It's just 10%. You can use your protectants and save your other stuff for later on in the season. Let's take a look. I want to see what happening in the Hudson Valley for Fire Blight. Oh, easy. Well, good. I mean, well, you deserve it because of the awful cold snap that we've had. Let's take a look into going into Voorheesville. We'll go ahead. Let's see how Capital District is looking. Easy for Fire Blight. Don't worry about it. Focus on all your other problems, and then we'll look for Scab. I didn't expect a lot of fire blight to happen, but I thought we would put some notes out as well. You didn't get the big event on Saturday like some of the other areas of the state. You're coming into a 14er. You've washed off a little bit there, so if you haven't put on a protectant in a while, I would just go ahead, do Captan, Mancozeb, or if you're an organic grower, put on your best liquid biopesticide on Monday or Tuesday and morning and just, beat that infection period easy. Let's just see how Chazy's doing. Same sort of situation, very little ejection, not a lot of rain. I wouldn't stress it. I just move into the week and protect my crop up into this one. If you haven't put a spray on in a while, not even getting a lot of rain. Looks like Chazy's getting the easiest. Let's see how they look for fire blight. And nothing, no blossoms open. Let's just pretend. I suspect that even if you did, yep, easy streets. Not a big fire blight week. It's all right. Let's go into Interlaken for apple scab. This is where we ran into a lot of trouble. Big 13, 15, 18, really pushing it towards that 20% window when you'd want to use one of the big guns. Good time for a Dodine application. If you haven't done one in a while, it doesn't even say it was an infection, probably because it got too cold in Interlaken. In Geneva, we got warm enough, and this was pretty nasty. And it was predicting about 1.25 inches and dropped it back to about 0.5 or 0.75, depending on where you are in the Finger Lakes. Coming into another event, you'll watch out, 9 plus 10 is a lot. You could use up one of your Sillet Dodines now, or if you're really feeling bold, use one of your Group 7 products or Axios Group 52. And it'll do great on apple scab, and that's what I am doing, or I did. Came in and took care of some Axios right in that area, and so that's what we did with ours. Let's take a look at Fire Blight. Do I need to panic? And do people, and nope, it's easy streets. This would be a terrible time if I did my fire blight trial now and have like maybe one king bloom open. That would be a disaster. It's a great way to fail and make all the products look great, including the non-treated check. We don't want that. Let's go into Williamson. I suspect we're finally getting a break from fire blight. Yep, looks easy. Yep, Western New York is looking pretty good. Scab, however, is gross. This is just it's awful. It's just never stopping raining in this particular site. I wonder if it's getting that much rain or the station's broken constantly. 13 and another 20. Big one. If you have your Sillet, you could use it in here. If you're really like, oh goodness, I'm going to use one of the big guns, do Axios, do 7 and 11, do one of the 7-11 products. You can use one up at this point, or just do Tessera, Saprovia, Miravis. Come in tomorrow and make that go away. I want to check another one. Oh, freaked out all the time by. It's bad everywhere. It's not great. Western New York, it's really having a time of it. Maturity is already moving into like near the 70s. We're way ahead of Eastern New York, which is very strange. And depending on where you are in the Sodus and Wayne County, you're looking at about 36% ejection. So this is a big enough event. I would say it definitely warrants putting in all the guns. Let's take a look at Niagara area, Appleton North. Similarly, Nightmare. They did get at 1.25 inch of rain. Lots of little ejection, 2, 5, 2, 13. All of this is adding up to my stuff is washed off, and I don't know if you'll be able to recover. It's really cold, and that's why we're not getting an infection on Saturday because it's in the 40s. But it's warming up just enough to give you some trouble. If you had anything on before the weekend, I would say it's probably washed off pretty bad. And if you can, maybe tomorrow when there's only 2 hours of leaf wetness and 38 degrees, you could, oh, that's a cold one, recover. Maybe use Scalar Vanguard in that case. Or you could use one of your other 7-11 products. It's just a lot of rain that makes me nervous. No one wants to lose everything from Scab. All right, now let's go back and check Appleton for Fire Blight. How's it looking? Oh, easy streets. It's all that cold 38-degree weather that's ruining our crops, is preventing us from having any concerns of Fire Blight whatsoever. All right. Very good. We'll talk to you again next week.